What's going on, adventurers and draconians? Draco Invictus here with another Neverwinter basics video, and today we're going to be talking about groups, group dynamics, races, classes. We're throwing it all into one episode, and because you guys have asked for it, there has been some questions asked, so I want to get them answered right here in this video. And so here we go. Let's jump right into it. Okay, so instead of talking about race and then class and then roles, that's the way the game has it laid out. We're going to do this totally backwards. We're going to start with a group and group dynamics. If you and 4 of your friends want to play Neverwinter, you have to figure out group dynamics first. Before you pick a race, before you pick a class, before you do anything, you have to figure out who is going to play in the vital roles in your group. Because there are 3 roles that need to be filled in your group. Now, typically, most dungeons are 5-player run-through. There are super dungeons that require more of each role, but we're not going to worry about that. We're talking about you and your 4 friends that want to play this game. So the 3 roles that need to be filled are tank, healer, and DPS. For each group of 5 people, for any mid-game to end-game dungeon, you are going to need 1 tank, 1 healer, and 3 DPS. That is proper group dynamics. You're going to have to figure out who's going to play what. So really quickly, let's talk about what each of these 3 roles does and why it's important for your group. The first role is tank. A tank is vitally important for your group. Because as you start getting into some of these dungeons and you're coming up against mini bosses and stuff like that, you need 1 person that can pull the focus of those mini bosses and bosses. You need 1 person that can absolutely make them focus on them, and that is the tank. The tank is designed to take a crap ton of damage and keep on going. That's the tank's role. There are 3 classes that fall into the tank role, or can fall into the tank role, depending on which path you take in those classes. We'll get to that in just a second. The second role is the healer. And again, there are 3 classes that can be a healer in a group. Of course, the healer's job is to make sure that everyone stays alive. And in the off chance that someone goes down, the healer's available to run over and get them back into the fight as fast as possible. The third role is DPS, which traditionally stands for damage per second. These are the damage dealers of the group, and there's 3 of them in every proper group dynamic. These guys hit hard and hit fast. The object of a DPS role is to get in there, waylay on those enemies, and get them knocked out of the fight. So now that we've talked about groups and group dynamics and the different roles, let's talk about the classes. As you can see, what I have here on the screen, I have the 8 classes of Neverwinter: Barbarian, Cleric, Fighter, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue, Warlock, and Wizard. Now you will see that some of these can play multiple roles. Some of them only play 1 role. So let's look at the 3 that fill the tank role. That would be Barbarian, Fighter, and Paladin. Now, how do you choose a role? Well, at level 30, you're going to take a Paragon path. And up until that point, you're just kind of breezing through, doing what you can in dungeons, no biggie. Okay, but at level 30, that's when you make a choice. Am I going to be a tank? Or am I going to be a DPS? Or in the Paladin's case, am I going to be a tank or am I going to be a healer? So our 3 tanks, our 3 viable classes for tank are Barbarian, Fighter, and Paladin. So you have some choices there. And the same goes for our healers. You have Cleric, Paladin, and Warlock. They can all be healers. Now, of course, each one of those classes comes at healing in a very different way. So it's something that you want to check out to see which is going to work best for you. But you have options. DPS is by far the largest group because you need 3 of them. Okay, Barbarian, Cleric, Fighter, Ranger, Rogue, Warlock, Wizard. They can all be a DPS class depending on which Paragon path you take. And in the case of Ranger, Rogue, and Wizard, They still have two paths to take as far as Paragon goes, but both paths get to the DPS in different ways. Different skills, different feats, different abilities, but at the end of the day, they're still DPS no matter which way they go. So, we've talked about group dynamics. We've talked about the classes. Now let's talk about the races. What race do you want to play? What race is the best race for a barbarian, for a cleric, for a fighter? Because again, I'm not encouraging you guys to spend any money. As a matter of fact, I'm not even going to talk about premium races except one honorable mention. I will only be bringing up one premium race because I think it is definitively worth it if you have the Zen to purchase it. So let's start and go down the list with human. So let's go over what you get for playing a human. And then we'll get to my personal thoughts on playing a human. You get +3 to any single stat, and you get +250 for all ratings. And while capable of playing any class, the lack of significant bonuses or bonuses to more than one stat lead me to pass on playing a human character. I frankly wouldn't do it. There are so many better options out there for every class that human just doesn't do it for me. So yeah, it's fairly straightforward, fairly simple. I'm not caring for the human very much. So moving on to our next race, we come to the half-orc. Now their stat bonuses is they get a +2 dexterity and a +2 constitution, or +2 dexterity and +2 strength. As a racial ability, they also get 5% increased crit severity and a 10% bonus speed when entering combat that lasts for 3 seconds. The best classes for a half-orc to play would be either barbarian or rogue, but some alternative classes might be fighter or ranger. Since the stat bonuses play so well into barbarian or rogue, that's why they're in that primary slot, but you can still take advantage of some of those stat bonuses with the fighter or ranger class, so they are all very viable when it comes to a half-orc. So let's go ahead and move on to Wood Elf. So as you can see here, the stat bonuses for Wood Elf are +2 dexterity and +2 wisdom, or +2 dexterity and +2 intelligence. Their racial abilities give them +1500 critical strike and 10% slow resistance. So if a spell was cast on them that would normally slow them, they have a 10% resistance to that slow effect. The best class to play as a wood elf would be a ranger, by far. I mean, they are a wood elf. It makes sense that the woodland ranger would be the best class for wood elf. But honestly, there's not any real huge alternative classes that I would even suggest as a wood elf. But let's go ahead and head into the sun elf now. And as you can see, for the Sun Elf, their stat bonuses are +2 intelligence, +2 dexterity, or +2 intelligence, +2 charisma. They get a +2% action point gain and a 10% control resistance. So any spell or effect that would try and control them, they get a 10% resistance to that because of their race. The best class to play for a Sun Elf would be a wizard. Good alternative class would be a warlock. For the Sun Elf, those are the two that I suggest just based on the numbers that you should play. And after that, now let's move on to the dwarf. Our stat bonuses are +2 constitution, +2 strength, or +2 constitution, +2 wisdom. You also get a +2000 defense and 20% knock and push resistance. So, two very good racial abilities there. Best classes to play for the dwarf would be barbarian, fighter, or paladin. Alternative classes, there really is none. Although I do suggest that you may want to look at being a tank in any of the three classes, either barbarian, fighter, or paladin, with a dwarf, simply because that +2000 defense is definitely going to come into handy, and the +2 constitution means that by default you're going to have more hit points, which tanks really need. And so it just kind of lends itself into being the tank role as a dwarf. And next we're going to take a look at the halfling. The halfling stat bonuses are +2 dexterity, +2 charisma, or +2 dexterity, +2 constitution. They also get plus 1500 deflect as a racial ability and a 10% control resistance. The best class by far to play as the halfling is the rogue, but a good alternative class is actually a fighter. For someone so short, fighter is actually a really good alternative class. That 1500 deflect would certainly come in handy for the fighter class, especially if they were being a tank. I think that, granted, everyone needs deflect, everyone needs all of these stats, but if you're naturally going to be falling into a bonus like that, take it. And of course, that brings us to the half-elf. The stat bonuses for the half-elf are +2 constitution, +2 charisma, or +2 constitution, +2 wisdom. They also get +1 ability score, which is determined by their class. So basically, each class has 3 stats, a primary stat and 2 secondary stats. I do believe that since you're going to be putting, let's say you chose Paladin, and you wanted Constitution and Wisdom, that whatever that secondary ability is where you would get that +1. I think that's how that works out. But anyway, you also get a +1 crit severity and gold bonus and plus 1500 deflect. So you actually get 3 racial abilities there. And basically that 1500 deflect, that is a holdover from previous modules before they reworked all the races. That was actually listed. Now it's over there on the side. It's just kind of it's there. They don't explain why it's there, but yeah, I remember that from playing in previous modules. Best classes to play as the half-elf are Paladin and Warlock, and there aren't really any really good alternative classes. Now, of course, if you wanted to ignore one of your stat bonuses, you could certainly do that. But again, I'm giving the information based on the stat bonuses for the character. What are the best classes for that race to play? And with that, we are going to move on to the Tiefling. Now, Tieflings are very cool looking. I love the whole like half demon looking thing. But anyway, their stat bonuses are +2 charisma, which is surprising, and +2 constitution, or +2 charisma, +2 intelligence. They deal 5% more damage to targets below 50% health, and have a 10% chance when hit to reduce target's attack damage by 2.5% for 5 seconds. Best class by far for them to play is the Warlock. Good alternative classes for them are the Paladin or the Wizard. So now we come to the Drow, or the Drow, depending on who you are, how you pronounce it. I pronounce it Drow. They are the Dark Elves. They've spent their lives living underground, and their skin is as dark as their souls. Dum dum dum. Anyway, stat bonuses for the Drow: +2 dexterity, +2 charisma, or +2 dexterity, +2 wisdom. They get a 5% chance to reduce target defense by 2,000 for 4 seconds, and increased hit point gain outside of combat. The best class for them to play is the Ranger, and of course that is all modeled after the most famous Drow of all time, Drist. He was a Drow Ranger in the books, and so of course they would model the Drow class to make sure that Ranger was the primo spot for it to go, and of course the alternative class for them would be Rogue. Now, for those of you that are on PC, you already have the Gith. And the Gith were actually free for the first month. The first 2 weeks of Mod 17 on PC, they were free to VIP members. And the 2 weeks after that were free for everyone, including VIP members. So for 28 days, you could get the Gith as a playable race for free. Now, on PC, you have to buy the pack to get the Gith. The same thing is going to happen on October 1st for consoles. So, PS4 and Xbox players, listen up. If you want the Gith for free, you have to get them anytime between October 1st and October 28th or 29th, whatever, probably 29th, because it's 28 days. So, yeah. So let's talk about the Gith. They are a new race being introduced into the game in Mod 17. They look kind of cool, as you can see here by the picture. Their stat bonuses are +2 dexterity and +2 strength, or +2 dexterity, +2 intelligence. You get a +3% stamina regeneration, and this one's huge, +5,000 combat advantage. There are very few things in this game that will give you +5,000 combat advantage. Your race doing it for you is really, really powerful. The best classes to play as a Gith are Barbarian and Rogue. Alternative classes, a really good alternative class is Ranger. And like I said down here, free for console up to 4 weeks after Mod 17 release come October 1st. So if you're interested in the Gith, make sure, and you're on console, make sure to log in sometime between October 1st and the 28th or 29th. Do not miss out on getting the Gith for free. If you have VIP, then you can get it October 1st. If you don't have VIP, then you're going to have to wait a couple weeks, but you will also have the chance to get the race for free, to get the pack for free. So make sure to take advantage of that. Now I want to get to the honorable mention. Now, as I have said in all my videos, this game is completely free to play. You don't have to spend any real world money. If you do want some premium stuff, it's going to cost you quite a lot of Astral Diamonds to convert into Zen to get to that premium content. If you were going to buy a race pack from the Zen market, if and only if you were going to do that, Dragonborn is the race I suggest you pick up. It's probably the most expensive. I haven't even looked at the cost of the other ones. I've not in quite a long time. Dragonborn is the only race if you were going to buy something off of the Zen market as far as a race pack goes. For the Dragonborn, you get +2 to any 2 stats. Okay? You also get +5% healing from all spells and abilities, +1,500 critical strike, and an additional +3% increased damage. The best class to play as a Dragonborn? Any of them. Because with the Dragonborn, the +2 to any 2 stats, you can touch the primary stat for any class, and one of the secondary stats for any class. You want to play a Paladin? You got it. You want to play a Rogue? You got it. Barbarian? I'm not going to go through the whole list. You guys get the point. Okay, so this has been a very long video, and I apologize for that, but I definitely wanted to touch on this information because it is very important as you're starting to grow your character, okay? You're starting to think about your character. Maybe you've already started one, and you're like, ah, crap. I picked a tiefling, ranger. It's okay. That's why they give you multiple character slots. And you can also get reroll tokens and stuff like that. Or you can just start another character depending on how far along you are. We've talked about group dynamics. We've talked about the different roles that our characters can play. We've talked about the different classes that fall into all of those roles. And we've also talked about all the different races that can play the classes. And by the numbers, which class you should be playing. Now, going through all of this, and I'm going to wrap up this video here in very, very short order, I want to bring something to your attention that you may have missed. Honestly, when I was first putting this together, I missed it too. And it wasn't until I was sorting everything out, so I went, hey, wait a second, what about there is a class that is not the preferred class of any race, as I've outlined in this video. Did you catch it? Watching this video only one time, and now you've reached the very end. Did you catch the one class that got 0 recommended spots for any of the races? Means if you want to play that class, you're going to have to make some sacrifices. You're going to have to figure out some other way to do it. Now, I'm not talking about Dragonborn, because we know Dragonborn will fill any class with its +2 to any stats. But there is a class that is not the preferred class for any race. Can it be played by any race? Absolutely. There are several where it comes somewhere close, but it didn't even fall into my radar for alternative classes. So let me know down in the comment section if you've made it this far and only watching one time. I don't want you to lie to me to try and impress me, okay? But just let me know. Be honest with me. Did you catch it? And maybe I'll mention it in another video. Maybe we'll talk about it after that, or maybe we'll just keep it for the comment section below. So only watching, don't go back and watch again. Let me know down in the comment section. I know, it's so interesting. I can't believe that I never paid attention to it. And I've seen many people playing this class before, so obviously there's, it's not like it can't be played with any of the other races. So let me know down in the comment section below. Okay, guys, this video has gone on far too long, but I want to thank you guys. I hope that this information is going to help you decide how you want to play this game. Think about the role that you want to play. Think about the class that you want to play. And then think about the race and how that's all going to fit in. Like I said at the beginning of this thing, I'm not telling you how to play this game. I'm not saying if you want to play a ranger, then you have to play a wood elf. Or if you want to play a paladin, you have to play as a sun elf. I'm not saying that at all. I'm certainly not suggesting that you go out and spend real money to get Zen so you can buy Dragonborn, so you can play any class you want. I want you to have fun. That's the whole point of a video game, to have fun. I'm only offering this information so that you have a little bit easier time with it. We're doing what we can, where we can, to get the most out of the game and not spend any money. So, with all of that being said, I want to thank you. If you have stuck with me this far, I want to thank you sincerely for watching this video. And we are going to be talking about other basics of Neverwinter here in the next few episodes, and frankly most of them. We're going to be talking about the different currencies of Neverwinter. We're going to be talking about, I have several videos recorded and I've just got to get everything edited and put together. But I mean, this one took quite a while, making all these little burnt pieces of paper and getting all the information compiled, but it was a lot of fun doing it, and I'm glad to share it with you. So until next time, adventurers and draconians, I want you to take care of yourselves out there. This is Draco Invictus, and this has been the greatest day in my life. See ya.